Hello. Today we begin our series on music in the Bible. The beginning of the Bible is, of course, the book of beginnings. It's called Genesis. And chapters 1 through 11 are all poetry. From the first verse, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, all the way through the beginning of the story of Abraham and the end of the story of Terah, including all those genealogies. We'll get to that in just a second. And the very, very beginning, where we have the story of the beginnings of humanity, the creation of the heavens and the earth, and Adam and Eve. And those verses like, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was void and without form. And it says, after God did his first day of creation, it was evening and it was morning, day one. And then after day two, it was evening and it was morning, day two. These little hints, the repeated statements, are ways that those who learned these scriptures could actually memorize them and then pass them on from generation to generation, very much like music. So chapters 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 are all in that kind of a format in Hebrew poetry. When you get to chapter 2 and you have the beginnings of humanity, the first poem in the Bible is by Adam, and it's when God brought Eve to him, and he said, okay, this is what he said. I was going to say, he said, "Whoa, man," which is an old joke. It's just really old. But he saw Eve, and he said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was drawn out of man." That's the first poem, first human poem in the Bible. We don't know if it might have been sung. My guess is that very, very early on, when the Bible was being transmitted, that more of these portions of the Bible were probably sung than we might have guessed. But we don't know that. There's no way of knowing. But it's all poetry. Then we get to the end of this story of beginnings of humanity, and there's a genealogy that takes us from Adam through Cain and Seth to subsequent generations, all the way to Noah. In chapter 5, there's this long genealogy. And for many of us, genealogies are not our favorite parts of the Bible, and it's understandable. So I'd like to give you a little bit of discussion of the genealogy in chapter 5. Millions of people all over the world read the Bible for inspiration and learning. But let's face it, sometimes we get to some parts of the Bible and there are parts that we may not feel are very inspiring. In fact, if you have insomnia, there's some parts of the Bible you may read just so it'll help you to sleep. Some of those are, for example, the genealogies. And one of those wonderful genealogies that you can find in the Bible is Genesis chapter 5, very close to the beginning of the book. Genesis chapter 5, you begin reading it and it has the genealogies of the generations of Adam. Adam begat Seth, and Seth lived a bunch of years, and then he begat somebody, and before you're halfway through it, you're asleep. So it can be a great cure for insomnia. But if we read the Bible with an open mind, and maybe even a Bible dictionary, then we can learn some things even from passages that may otherwise seem to be quite uninspiring. Genesis chapter 5, the genealogy, a bunch of names. What we don't think about is many of these ancient Hebrew names actually have meanings. Now I'm going to talk about meanings. Most of these you can find in a standard Bible dictionary like Strong's Exhaustive Concordance of the Bible or Kittle Theological Dictionary of the Bible. Whatever place you go to find the dictionary meanings, a few of them are controversial, but most of these are just the standard meanings. So we're going to go through them one by one, and if you go through it, I think you might find even Genesis chapter 5, the genealogy has something inspiring to teach us. First of all, Adam. Adam means man. Seth means appointed. Enosh means mortal. Kenan means sorrow. Mahalalel means the mighty God. Jared means came down. Enoch means teaching. Methuselah means his death shall bring. Lamech means despairing one. And Noah means rest. So if we put those words together and we don't put anything additional to it, it's man appointed mortal sorrow. The mighty God came down teaching his death shall bring the despairing one rest. Who knows what you might find if you study the Bible with an open mind and maybe also a Bible dictionary. After the genealogy in chapter 5, I'm not aware of any music in the book of Genesis. So for that, we'll have to take a look at the book of Exodus, which is next time.